Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei whisky.de, dem Treffpunkt feiner Geister. Und ja, ich bin wieder auf dem Festland zurück, aber immer noch im hohen Norden von Schottland. Ich bin in der Hafenstadt Wick im Ortsteil Pulteney. Ja, es waren früher mal zwei Städte und früher war das kleine Dorf Pulteney und wir sind in der gleichnamigen Brennerei Old Pulteney. Und das ist so ein richtig schöner Highland Whisky und den schauen wir uns heute mal an, wie der so produziert wird. Die Geschichte von Pulteney fängt 1826 an, denn dort wurde sie gegründet von James Henderson. Der Mann war schon vorher Distiller, er hat schon im Inland ein wenig illegal destilliert, aber hier in Pulteney ist noch nichts an illegaler Destillation gelaufen, aber er ist dann irgendwann hierher gezogen und hat hier eine Distille aufgebaut. Um diese Zeit rum war Wick und Pulteney, das waren damals noch zwei Dörfer, war relativ groß und hatten auch sehr, sehr viele Fassmachereien, aber nichts für die Brennereien, sondern alles nur für die Heringe. Das war ein riesengroßer Heringhafen. Es gab sogar mal einen Zeitpunkt, wo dieser Hafen der größte Heringhafen der Welt war. Und das ging über die Jahre immer wieder sehr gut. Später wurde sie dann 1920 an James Watson and Sons of Dundee verkauft. Dann gab es eine Zeit sehr schnell danach, also der hat keinen guten Kauf gemacht, denn gleich danach wurde in Schottland abgestimmt, ob man Alkohol verbieten sollte, also Prohibition. Und da wurde abgestimmt, in 600 Countys wurde abgestimmt. In 40 Countys haben dann mehr als 60% der Bevölkerung gesagt, nein, wir wollen ein trockenes County werden. Und das ist hier passiert. Und am 28. Mai 1947 trat die Prohibition ein. Und ja, damit war es ein bisschen schwierig hier. Dann es wurde wieder verkauft an die Scottish Malt Distillers und dann wurde auch die Brennerei eingemottet. Das ging dann so weiter, immer wieder so weiter, bis dann irgendwann Robert Cumming, den kennen wir schon. Der hat Balblair vorher gekauft und er hat dann hier eben das Ganze übernommen und hat auch Elektrizität eingebaut und 1947 war ja dann die Prohibition wieder über. Sie hatten mehrere Abstimmungen, irgendwann hat es dann geklappt, die Prohibition wieder abzuwählen und in 1951 hat Pulteney dann wieder angefangen zu destillieren. Dann irgendwann ging es über zu Hiram Walker, der kanadischen Firma. In 1958 gab es einen großen Umbau und sie hatten früher sehr, sehr viele kleine Stills, jetzt haben sie zwei größere Stills und das war dann 1958. Kurz davor ging es noch an J&G Studdert Ltd. Licensed, also es ging nur um eine Lizenz an der Stelle. Hiram Walker ging ja später irgendwann über in die Allied Distillers 1987. Aber die Brennerei ist nicht bei Allied Distillers und später dann in eine andere große Firma übergegangen, sondern sie wurde 1995 an Inverhouse Distillers verkauft, genauso wie Balblair im Jahr davor. Sie waren damals aber immer noch eher so Blendindustrie, weil es halt damals das Thema war. Und 1997 haben sie dann den ersten Old Pulteney 12 Jahre rausgebracht. Und ab dann war die Brennerei eine Single Malt Brennerei, so wie wir sie heute kennen. Das machen sie immer noch. Und jetzt schauen wir uns mal an, wie die Produktion so abläuft. Eine der wichtigsten Zutaten, das Malz bei Old Pulteney, wird in den Silos mit über 50 Tonnen gelagert. Und es braucht ungefähr 5,1 Tonnen Malz, um einen Batch zu machen. Sehr schön, weil die Brennerei dadurch bedeutend länger durchhalten kann, wenn mal irgendwo ein großer Schneesturm ist und die Versorgung abgeschnitten ist. Das hier ist eine alte Porteous Malt Mill, aber wir sehen, sie ist nicht ganz original, denn die originale Porteous Malt Mill, die musste man immer mit so Ölkännchen, ja, alle so und so viele Tage die Lager nachölen. Und hier hat Robert Lee, der ist der Mann in Schottland, der alle Malzmühlen wartet, hat hier so ein kleines Drip System, also eine kleine Ölversorgung eingebaut. Und das heißt, jetzt muss man diese Porteous Malt Mill im Grunde gar nicht mehr wirklich anfassen. Die funktioniert einfach. Ja, diese Dinger sind sehr, sehr robust und halten ewig. Ja. Und wenn es dann schön grob gemahlen ist, dann geht es weiter in die Mashtun. Die Mashtun bei Pulteney ist sogar relativ jung. Sie wurde vor 8 Jahren erneuert und vorher hatten sie so eine alte gusseiserne Mashtun und die wurde dann langsam undicht und so eine gusseiserne Mashtun oben offen ist wirklich ineffizient. Und jetzt haben sie durch eine neue Mashtun mit einem kupfernen Deckel ersetzt, also geschlossen, schön sauber, keine Probleme mehr. Die kann auch nicht wirklich auslaufen, so wie die alte. Und was das Interessante bei Pulteney ist, sie machen 4 Maischvorgänge. Und von den letzten 2 Maischvorgängen wird das Wasser zwischengelagert und als Wasser für die ersten 2 Maischvorgänge verwendet. So kriegt man wirklich das Maximum an Zucker und Stärke, was hier in dem Schrot drin ist, rausgewaschen, damit man wirklich die beste Ausbeute an Zucker in seinem Mash hat. Die Brennerei hat 6 Washbags mit einer Arbeitskapazität von 23.000 Litern und sie nutzt noch ihren Wash Charger als Washbag, aber das auch nur an bestimmten Zeiten der Woche. Also es ist nicht regulär, dass der dort verwendet wird. Es wird für 60 Stunden fermentiert. Was interessant ist, dass die Hefe konstant mit dem Mash vermengt wird und zwar direkt vorm Einfüllen. Das heißt, hier wird nicht die Hefe einfach reingeschüttet und dann vielleicht einmal ein bisschen umgerührt und dann verteilt sie sich, sondern die wird gleich verteilt eingefüllt. Das bedeutet, die Hefe kann bedeutend schneller, kommt sie an allen Zucker ran. Das kann auch bedeuten, dass es schneller geht, beziehungsweise die Hefe überall gleichzeitig reagieren kann. Das ist nicht ein schneller, weil eine zu schnelle Fermentation will man nicht haben. Deswegen wird ja auch immer das Mash runtergekühlt, bevor man es in die Fermentation gibt. Es dauert ungefähr 60 Stunden, bis das Wash durchfermentiert ist und dann hat man ein richtig schönes, fruchtiges Mash. Also würden wir eigentlich erwarten, dass Old Pulteney ein sehr fruchtiger Whisky ist, aber das werden wir uns dann mal anschauen, was damit dann noch in der Destillation passiert. Die Brennblasen bei Pulteney sind relativ besonders und ziemlich einzigartig. Vor allem die Wash Still. Wenn ihr mal die Wash Still anschaut, das ist keine Einschnürung, das ist eine Reflux Bowl, also eine Siedekugel. Die erhöht diesen Reflux extrem, also sehr, sehr viel Kupferkontakt, macht den Whisky dann auch wieder ein Stückchen milder. Also würden wir eigentlich erwarten, der Whisky von Pulteney sollte extrem mild sein. Oben sehen wir dann, sie wollten früher mal eine etwas höhere Still haben und das ging dann wieder nicht drauf. Das Dach ist hat nicht drauf gepasst, also haben sie ihn wieder an der Seite angeschlossen. Gibt auch eine Menge Wirbel oben, auch eine Menge Reflux. Würde auch bedeuten, sehr wenig, sehr, sehr milden Brand. Obwohl es bei der Wash Still nicht so ausschlaggebend ist. Was interessant bei der Wash Still aber ist, sie fahren die Wash Still relativ schnell, das machen eigentlich alle. Aber hier kommen sie mit der Wash Still am Ende auf 35% Alcohol by Volume, also Alkoholvolumen. Und das ist relativ viel. Das bedeutet aber, die Spirit Still hat dann weniger zu tun. Das heißt, mit der Spirit Still können wir ein gutes Stückchen langsamer arbeiten, ein bisschen gemütsamer, ein bisschen schönere Separation haben. Wir haben auch noch einen schönen Reflux Bowl hier. Und was auch noch besonders ist, ist hier um die Ecke, da sieht man dann einen alten Purifier. Der Purifier ist nicht mehr im Einsatz. Es ist im Grunde einfach nur noch ein ein leerer Kasten, der unten einen Abfluss hat, der zurück in die Brennblase geht. Das heißt, alles, was dort oben kondensiert, das fließt zurück in die Brennblase, gibt auch mal wieder noch eine bessere Separation des Alkohols und müsste eigentlich auch wieder einen leichteren Brand geben. Ich habe jetzt eigentlich nur Gründe gegeben, warum der ein extrem weicher, leichter nordischer Rohbrand sein sollte. Aber jetzt kommt dann der Grund, warum er doch eher kräftiger und würziger ist. Und zwar liegt das Geheimnis außerhalb des Brennhauses. Und das sind die Warm Tubs. Also die Brennerei hat keine normalen Kondensatoren, sondern sie hat Warm Tubs, die über den Fluss gespeist werden und dann wird es dort abgekühlt. Und Warm Tubs sind vom Abkühlverhalten ganz anders. Und das bedeutet, dort entstehen mehr würzige Geschmäcker. Also ein Warm Tub ist bevorzugt die würzigen Geschmäcker. Und da ist es eben, wo dann aus dem Pulteney Whisky auch noch eben ein Stückchen mehr Würzigkeit rauskommt und es dann doch nicht so ein leichter Highland Brand ist, sondern so eher ein schwererer, eher ein kräftigerer, kombiniert aber mit einer schönen Fruchtigkeit. Genau. Und das hier ist jetzt mal das Geheimnis im Brennhaus von Pulteney und wir gehen jetzt weiter in die Fassabfüllung. Wir haben hier auch einen sehr, sehr schönen Raum für Fassabfüllung. Den wollte ich euch einfach mal zeigen und wie Fassabfüllung so funktioniert. Also wir haben hier die Fässer, die angeliefert werden. Leere Fässer stehen im Grunde immer. Und ja, das sind dann irgendwo Ex-Bourbon-Fässer oder Fässer, die sie selbst verwendet haben und nochmal wiederverwenden wollen. Und die Fässer hier bei der Pulteney Brennerei werden alle schön weiß lackiert und bekommen dann hier die Aufschrift Pulteney Distillery Wick, also und dann noch eine Jahreszahl und die Fassnummer. Und ja, das ist wirklich schön Handarbeit mit Farbe wird hier durch diese Stencils durchgemalt und dann wird das Fass befüllt. Und was auch noch bei jedem Fass gemacht ist, wenn man ein Fass erneuert, der schwächste Punkt eines Fasses ist immer der Stopfen. Und wenn man irgendwo ein Fass probiert oder sowas, dann ist der Stopfen schon ein Stückchen angeschlagen. Das heißt, wenn ein Fass befüllt wird, neu befüllt wird, dann gibt es immer einen neuen Stopfen. Und dafür gibt es dann die verschiedenen Größen von 2,8 Inch bis hoch irgendwo bis 3 Inch. Und ja, die Fässer werden hier befüllt und dann geht es weiter ins Lagerhaus. Jetzt befinde ich mich in eines der 5 Warehouses von Pulteney. Die Warehouses waren nicht immer Lagerhäuser für Whisky. Eines der Lagerhäuser gegenüber an der Straße, das sie irgendwann mal wahrscheinlich gekauft haben, war früher mal eine Fassmacherei. Aber jedoch nicht für Whisky, vielleicht teilweise für den Old Pulteney Whisky, sondern früher war ja hier Heringhandel riesig groß, also wurden extrem viele Fässer für Heringe hergestellt. Und ja, heutzutage werden alle Lagerhäuser hier von Pulteney verwendet. Sie haben 2 Racked Warehouses, also so 6 Schichten hohe Warehouses, vielleicht 7. Und die anderen 3 sind die alten Dunnage Warehouses. Insgesamt haben sie ungefähr 23.000 Fässer on-site und das meiste davon sind Bourbonfässer. Also es ist eine Mischung aus Bourbonfässern und Sherryfässern, wobei die Mischung ist so ungefähr 90:10% Sherryfässern. Und ja, die Sherryfässer werden für mindestens 12 Jahre gelagert und dann werden alle mittlerweile für Single Malt Whisky, also alle für den Old Pulteney Whisky verwendet. Ja, das war es jetzt mit der Produktion. Die Abfüllung findet im Süden von Schottland statt und wir probieren jetzt mal die Produkte und machen noch ein kleines Interview. Ja, das war's mit der Produktion und jetzt geht es weiter mit einem kleinen Tasting der Core Range, aber natürlich auf Englisch. So I'm sitting here with Malcolm Waring. You've been 32 years within the whiskey production and now 22 years already as a distillery manager.
That's right.
A lot of experience. Thank you very much for having us here at the distillery.
You're very welcome. Welcome to Wick and welcome to Pulteney.
Yeah, it was amazing experience. It was
It's an old traditional distillery.
It is,
and it's like, you know, when you see it kind of like, well, as we say, warts and all. You know, there's what you see is what you get. It's a working distillery. You know, you're very much hands-on, and you're in about the thick of it when you see it.
Every time you visit a distillery, you see something new, and I've never seen a wash still like you have.
Oh, it's very different. Yeah, totally unique in the industry.
And I always love the distilleries with what do you call it, the condensers, the old worm tubs.
Worm tub, yeah, very traditional. I think there's something like 130 something working distilleries in Scotland presently, and there's only about 16 or 17 of us using worm tubs. So
I've seen a few, but
not too many.
There are a few left.
Yeah, there's not too many of them.
It's just hard to maintain.
Very much, very expensive to maintain. Obviously, you know, with all the copper. So I mean, at Pulteney, there's 110 metre worm in each tub. So that takes a lot of looking after in a year for both of them.
100 that can leak everywhere.
Yeah, well,
every
the secret is keeping on top of it. The secret is keeping it well maintained, and you don't have so many leaks.
But I think it's easier if you're at the shore. If you land in and you have a burn, and you have great restrictions in terms of heat and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate. Our water source is from Hempriggs, which is just a wee bit out the road there. It follows what we call a lade. And it's the biggest man-made lade in Europe, and it was designed and built by Thomas Telford, and it's about 3.5 miles long. Anyway, because it's man-made, we are not restricted on the uplift temperature because it's not going into a natural water course. So we're quite fortunate that way. Yeah. But we have tight controls on the volume that we use. So we monitor that quite strictly.
Yeah, every distillery is nowadays going into monitoring the environmental.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Benedict, you know what we're producing is all comes from the environment. Yeah, and you've got to look after the environment, because if you don't, you know, the whiskey's not there basically. Yeah, you really need to kind of look after it very much.
But I'm really excited about the product now. Okay. So, what is the first one we're going to take?
We're going to try the 12 years old. Okay, the 12 years old is our core. Okay, it's the DNA of Pulteney Distillery, Wick, where we're from, you know, the expression, the coast. We're very much influenced by the sea, and you'll get that in the 12. It's at 40% by volume, okay. It's matured in 100% ex-American oak, and it's mainly refill, okay. Now, as you mentioned the still earlier on, they're very unusual, okay. It produces a very big, beefy, you know, kind of powerful, kind of veggie kind of spirit, quite a robust, oily spirit. You put that into a good American oak cask, and that takes butterscotch, it brings on coconut, you really have the fruits and the esters, and you get that coupled with the coastal expression, the brininess in the 12. And it's very much a signature whiskey for Pulteney.
Yeah, I would have expected it a lot lighter. Just because if you hear how long you ferment and what kind of reflux you have, but on the other hand, warm tubs.
Yep, you're going to get a robustness. You know, when you swirl it around there, you've got that oiliness. It does. It cloys to the glass, which is a really good sign.
So
a lot of mouthfeel. Sludge.
Sludge.
Mellow, complex, sweet, floral, estery. Touch of banana in there too. So you've got that kind of like banana dryness coming through right on the very finish.
It starts off very mild, but then after a few seconds it hits you with a good amount of spiciness, volume, and strength, and a little marine flavor as well. Yes,
coastal, very much.
I like it. I would have expected it much lighter.
I know it's again, as you say, it's the size and shape of the still, the worm tub, and where we are. It puts a right boldness into it. Soft, complex whiskey.
But it's a really oily whiskey, and you feel in your mouth. It's.
And another thing as well, which is very unusual about this, if you put it to your ear, okay, you can hear the sea.
Nice. I would have. If you wouldn't have said oily, I would have said creamy.
Yeah. But now there's a creaminess to it, a kind of toffee creaminess to it.
Yeah, in a whiskey, the creaminess, oiliness.
Well, you've got a butterscotch. You know, you've got that butterscotch coconut as well.
Yeah, that's the oak. I like it.
Yeah.
Always like a pure bourbon cask is also A really nice thing.
Yeah, this is all matured. You know, you run the warehouses there, and this is all matured in rack warehouses.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's, as you can see, they're 9 high. So there's a slight difference in the humidity level of it. So I mean, you really, you know, these, what the, you know, made up of the 12 is, it tends to sit up quite high in the racks. We deliberately place them there, and it's almost like a second distillation within the cask, and it really, you know, intensifies all the fruits. So it's just the position within it, slightly different humidity, and it's bringing on the fruit, and it brings that onto the, you know, onto the 12.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I like it. So we've already talked about a bit about the water and that the environmental aspect of it. I've heard that you changed something else, like with your boiler, and yeah. So how did that work? Yeah,
back in 2006, we up to that point we were using fossil fuel for our primary fuel source for driving, for fueling the distillery. 2006, there was an initiative locally that we, coupled with a private venture, built a biomass boiler on our site. Okay. So essentially, it's wood chip. So the steam is supplied by the wood chip boiler. It comes down to the distillery. We use the steam, obvious, for driving the, you know, everything within the distillery. The condensate, or the hot water, after we're finished, it goes around a district heating scheme, and it heats the homes of 250 houses within the town, in the local area, the immediate area, and also the local hospital.
Oh, okay. So you're doing it like with renewable energies, and you're also using the waste energy for other homes.
Yeah, for other homes too.
Oh, that is
and that goes around the district heating scheme. It goes back into the boiler to be, you know, made into steam again, and comes down to us. And we
so it's already.
So we're an integral part of that process that keeps going all the time.
So what happens when the distillery goes on to maintenance?
Well, when we go silent, there's a spare boiler there that is really for hot water.
Ah, okay.
So we don't use the steam then, so it's just providing hot water to the district heating.
So you're pitching it a bit down, and
yeah. If we're only
the hospital still has heating.
Oh yeah, very much. The homes, all the people still get their homes heated in the hospital too. So
okay.
Yeah,
that is nice. That is really nice.
Yeah. So we've never used fossil fuel since 2006. So.
That is really good. Nice. Okay. So Old Pulteney 15 then.
15. Yeah. This is. One of our new expressions. It's only been out a couple of years. The 15-year-old starts off life the same as the 12. It's made from plain malts, so there's no phenolics whatsoever. It's first filled into refill American oak, and it's had a number of years in there. And what I've done then, I've taken it out and I've racked it, and I've put it into first fill Oloroso Spanish oak butts.
So it's a finish?
No, it's a further maturation. It's not a finish. Because
further maturation?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there for quite a substantial number of years.
Ah, okay. So it's double or sequential maturation.
Yes, so it's had, you know, so much of its life in American oak, and then, you know, the remainder of its life in Spanish oak. And really, what it's doing then, again, you've got and it's matured further in dunnage warehouses. Okay, into dunnage. So you've still got that, you know, oiliness, you've still got the boldness, you've still got the fruit, the ester, but bringing it on in Spanish oak, you've got a level of spice in there. It's like a fresh spice, you know. Yeah. You've got licorice, you've got toffee, you've got clove, and there's like a red apple going through it.
It feels a little bit like that. These Christmas spices.
Yeah.
You have like a. Yeah.
You got the fruits of that. You got the stony kind of pulpy fruit. Yeah. You know.
It's strange because you do have the cloves. The orange is a little bit present, but it's not as strong as in other whiskies.
No, it's like, you know, in the terms of the orange world, you know, you've got the big oranges, and then you've got the Satsuma, which is a bit more mild. You know, so you've got that orange kind of citrusy note coming through, but it's a bit more subdued.
It does have quite a number of more. It does have a bit of a fruitiness to it as well. Yep. The spiciness, I would say, yes, that's the dominant note here. Yeah. Coming from the oak, but it does have a bit of a fruitiness as well. Yeah. I like it.
It's well balanced. That's the thing about it. It's well balanced. It's something that's difficult to do, you know, when you're playing about with different styles of cast and different styles of maturation to get the balance just right. And I think with a 15-year-old, it's just bang on.
Oh, nice. Slime?
Slime you are. Spiciness very much evident on your palate now. You chew that.
Oh yeah, a little bit more intensity.
Yeah.
Beginning was quite similar with the intensity to the 12.
Then it becomes more complex.
Then it just kicks off with a lot more spiciness. This had already had a bit of spiciness in it.
But the intensity is there. The complexity, the robustness, even the depth.
It's hard for me to tell them, is that spiciness comes from the warmed up or is that spiciness from the oak?
It's from the oak.
It's probably a mixture, but I would say oak is a bit more dominant there. Nice whiskey. We've talked about your town being a fisher town and that kind of stuff, and so how's the temperature? How's the climate affecting the whiskey?
We're because we're on the coast, right in the northern part of Scotland. We are very remote. It's as you come up and follow the coast all the way up. We're sitting basically on the top of a cliff. So you go further inland, the humidity and the climate is very different. I mean, we're heavily influenced by the sea. 100 yards down the road, and you've got the North Sea. It influences us so much. You know, the distillery grew up with that. Herring was and catching fishing was a very Wick at one point was the busiest herring port in Europe. The distillery grew up with that. You know, the climate hasn't changed in nowhere. It's, you know, because we have a kind of constant level of humidity. It really, you know, the coldest we would get is like -2, -3, and in the summertime, you know, the hottest we get would be about 17, 18 degrees. So there isn't a big difference in the humidity. So really what I'm playing on is the difference in the levels within the warehouses where the humidity would be slightly different.
So is it higher, is the lower humidity then?
It can be a slightly higher, obviously, within the racks. You've got that higher humidity, where it's lower, it's a wee bit more damper. You know, so you've got a bit more kind of moisture in it, which brings it slightly different, and you'll experience that in the next whiskey, the 18 years old. So, you know, living where we are, you've got such an influence from the sea, you've got a constant humidity, and the temperature's fluctuation is pretty minimal.
So perfect for a very slow maturation.
The environment for that is great for that, slow maturation. Without a doubt.
Nice. So you talked about the herring town. Is there any like record of an old guy, you know, when they had tons of casks from herrings? Is there a record of somebody back in the days putting whiskey in a herring cask?
Well, I haven't got written records, but we've got, you know, what's been muted to us by word of mouth, that the gentleman had a cask from another distillery that wasn't maturing too well, so he put it into a cask, a herring cask, an old herring cask, and decided he wanted to call it fishky. So,
fishky?
Fishky, yeah. So, you know, there is things like that. And no doubt in the past, locally, there's been, you know, because there was 500 coopers used to work in the town during the boom years, and there was like 6 cooperages. So no doubt somewhere along the line, somebody's, you know, had a cask and they put some whiskey in it locally. And
yeah, probably. Have you tried it? No. I can't imagine that it's good.
I couldn't comment on it, to be honest. Like
I think it's also illegal to call it Scotch then.
You can't call it Scotch whiskey.
Yeah. There's a strict.
Yeah. That's why it was called fishky and not single malt. That's why it's called fishky. You wouldn't be allowed to call it that.
I think everybody wants just 1 dram of fishky.
Well, now next one, Benedict, is the 18 years old. Okay. This is the 18 years old. Now again, it's you know, not unlike the 12 and the 15, where it started off in American oak and then racked into Spanish oak exclusion butts. Its entire life, it's matured in Dunnage warehouse. Okay, it's not just been the rack, so it's been low down, a lot damper environment. For a period of its time. Actually, right above us was the kiln. Many years ago, this was the kiln. Okay, in this area here, and above us just now is a bonded warehouse, but that's where the kiln sat. When you go down to the bottom end of that warehouse in number 6, I mean, that kiln came out in 1959. Okay, stopped working in 1926. the wall in that area is damp. There's like a mossy kind of fungal growth on that wall, and it's remained damp since 1926, nearly 100 years, and it's never dried out. The microflora within that part of the warehouse, you've got that kind of mustiness to it as well. It's very pleasant, but it's only in that particular part. Okay. So what I've done for a period of its maturation time is place these casks in that particular area, and I wanted to impart that within the DNA of the whiskey. And you'll get that kind of mossiness to it as well. And again, it's spicy, okay? But for me, it's more of a softer cooked spice, okay? The intensity of spice on there is a lot less than the 15. But it's there, it's subtle. Again, you've got that creamy toffee, and then you've got the stony, pulpy fruit.
Yeah,
okay?
it's like much milder than the other ones.
It's a cooked apple. It's a very soft whiskey, very soft, very complex again, but and it has its own DNA. And it's a deep whiskey, almost as deep as the ocean that's just out down the road there.
It's amazing because it does have, it's mild, much less intensity than the others, but it has a nice spiciness to it, but also again not a sharp spiciness, no hotness or pepper or something like that.
For me, it's like a creme brulee as well.
Yeah, something like that.
You've got that dark sugar.
So what did you say? Is there a bourbon cask in there as well?
Initially.
Initially. Yeah. Because that's what I thought. If that's 100% sherry, that would be strange for me.
Yeah, no, it's initially American. It's American.
It does have also creme brulee, that caramel, the fudge, but
it's all dunnage.
All dunnage.
All dunnage. So I mean, the 12 is all racked. The 15 is a mix of racked and dunnage, and the 18 is all dunnage warehouse.
Okay, nice.
18 years at 46%, non-chill filtered, so you have that mouthfeel again. Definitely have that mouthfeel too.
Oh, nice. Sludgy.
There you are.
Okay, I can feel a bit of the character of the distillery, but it's much different than the others. It does have, from my point of view, it does have a little bit less fruitiness and a bit more spiciness.
Yeah.
Strange. I would have expected more fruitiness here.
It just shows you the difference, between the different styles of maturation, the length of time in each individual type of cask, and the type of warehouse and environment, its maturation environment. I mean, you're only talking 3 years of difference between 15 and 18, but the difference in the whiskey is tremendous.
Yeah, the type of the position in the warehouse is a lot different. If you have it probably at the bottom of a rack warehouse, it's similar to a dunnage, but at the very top, it's probably a bit hotter in the summer, even though.
Yeah, a bit more humid.
I like it. But anyway, so your style is more robust than usual for the area, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
coastal, it's going to do that.
Yeah.
It's all plain malted barley. It's malted in Inverness, and we buy it from Baird's Malting Group. Have done for many years. So it's grown locally, the northeast coast of I'm saying locally, relatively local, and everything about it is local, and that coast again is going to impart such an influence on it, and it makes it a robust whiskey that has a lot of mouthfeel, has a lot of complexity, has a bit of softness to it as well. But it's distilled by the environment as much as it's distilled by the distillery.
Yeah, it's always it depends on where you are if you distill the whiskey. Depends a lot on your water, a lot on your maturation, climate, and everything. But I love the whiskies of the north. They are really nice.
They're very different.
You really feel slow maturation. Still, every Scotch is kind of slower than you would expect from, like, say, a Kentucky straight bourbon. But this is, even a bit further than with slow. I like it. So, that was wonderful at your distillery. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming along, and thanks for looking us out. Hope you enjoyed the distillery, the place, the whiskies. Our pleasure to have you.
Thanks for the whiskies. Thanks for the interview.
You're very welcome.
And thank you very much for watching this video, and if you found this video interesting, then please feel free to share this video with your friends who might also be interested in whiskey. And see you next time.